today I want to talk about 4 reasons why people often choose a business partner and how those all can be bad reasons sometimes, and sometimes they can be right. So, a little background on myself as far as business partners go. I have started companies with business partners and without them. I have been involved as co-founding about 10 companies. I have worked as the chief marketing officer, as the CEO, as the designer, as the all-around person doing stuff, sales, all of those different things. And I have seen different types of business partners throughout the years. Some of them have been fantastic and we still have wonderful relationships, and some of them haven't been so great. But generally speaking, I see 4 reasons why people often will choose a particular business partner, and I want to go through those reasons and help you think through why you may be choosing a partner. Now, I know that being on your own in a business can sometimes be very lonely. It's very difficult sometimes to have no one there that you can bounce ideas off of. It's, somebody that believes in it as much as you do, having that somebody you can kind of blame for things or that you can bring with you to an investor meeting. It's very similar to being single versus being in a relationship. Having done that both as well, I would say that singleness and relationships, marriage especially, is very similar to starting a business on your own or starting a business with a partner. There's something very special and very exciting about having a partner in crime with you. So that can be very tempting, and these are some of the reasons that it's tempting. And they're actually ironically very similar to relationships, so I probably will compare a little bit there. The first reason that you would get into a relationship, a business relationship, is money. So again, very similar in both business and personal. Say that you have this really great idea, but you don't have any money. So you want to find somebody that has the money. Now, sometimes you can get an investor, and often you will get an investor who is kind of hands off, but gives you money and then just checks in on you to make sure that you're fulfilling certain goals. But if you actually are choosing a business partner who is going to be hands on and their main contribution is financial, there can definitely be some pitfalls. Imagine if you were getting into a marriage relationship and the main reason that you were with the person was for money. Well, some of those problems that would come would be, first of all, guilt around being able to you're spending their money all the time. That can end up feeling bad. They're not giving you that love and support that you need, etc. It's very similar in business. So in business, if you have a partner who's the money person, there are a couple things that they'll end up doing. First of all, they're not going to be working as hard as you. And yes, they put in the money, and that'll always weigh on you a bit, but you're going to be working, 7 in the morning till 10 at night sometimes, because this is your baby, this is your business. And so you're going to be putting in all of these hours. And unfortunately, this person that has given you the money, they will feel like they don't need to because they put in the money and it's your job to work. And that will become a point of friction if they're going off and getting drinks at 4:30 in the afternoon and you're still hard at work. And so that can be a really hard part. The other point is with feeling trapped and feeling pressure to listen to their opinions on things. So if you're the main business person, you're doing the day-to-days and the partnerships and the networking and the technical part, you're building out the software, whatever it is that you're building, this business, this retail, whatever, you know the ins and outs. And you know that you need to hire this certain person, or we need to get this certain deadline, or that deadline is too fast and you're not going to be ready for it. But this person who's invested money, they're standing back a little farther and they're not going to know those ins and outs. But because they are giving the money, they're going to feel like they're justified giving as much opinion as you. And you're going to feel pressure to have to listen to them. And that falls really far when it comes to what you spend your money on. So that goes into the next point of, say you know that you need to spend money on branding and marketing, but your investor doesn't think that's important. He thinks that because you have a good idea, you shouldn't have to spend his money on that. And it's his money because it's something that is unnecessary. But based on your target audience and your market, that you need to spend more money in this area. This will become difficult because you're trying to prove to your partner that you want to spend money on something and he doesn't believe you, but he's the money. So going back, the step one, or the reason one for business partners would be money. And I would highly advise that you be very careful when you're going into business with someone that most of the reason is because they have money. Try to use them as a an investor that doesn't have a lot of voting rights on day-to-day things, make sure that you talk to a lawyer about that. Make sure they're a little bit more hands-off. Give you the power and the control to make the day-to-day decisions. Don't assume that just because they're putting in a lot of money and they're really excited up front, that they're going to be excited long term. And in 6 months, when you're trying to convince them that social media is really important, that they're going to understand that or care. So be very careful when you're looking at a business partner that has all the rights of a partner just because of the money. Number 2 is getting a business partner because somebody that has given you a lot of great advice might be great to be in business with. This will be very similar to if there's this girl that you're friends with, but every time you meet up, like you say your girlfriend broke up with you and she gives you all this great advice for getting back together with her and how to make it work, and you always have drinks with her and she's just really great for giving you advice. Well, just because she gave you advice and it was really good advice doesn't mean you have to marry her. And that's the same way with business partners. If you have somebody that you hang out with, every other week and you have drinks with and you're just bitching about all the problems with this business and he gives you advice, that doesn't mean that you need to now go into business with him. Imagine if you were to marry all the people that give you really good advice or go into business with them, right? Imagine that you did that. Now these people who used to be outsiders and would give you great outside opinions and outside advice that you could take and think about, and they wouldn't really be in the day-to-day, now they're there all the time telling you what to do, giving you advice day in and day out, and now you have to go find another buddy to be able to bitch about them because they're giving you too much advice. Also, now they're too close to the situation and they may not be able to give you the same amount of advice. So when you have somebody who gives you great advice on a regular basis, this may not be enough of a reason to go into business with them. But I would highly recommend that you take them out and buy them a beer every other week and tell them what's going on and let them listen. Or maybe give them a little part of the company or a little bit of just inclusiveness in it. But don't have them as a full business partner. The third reason that people go into business with somebody, and this is one that I often see, and I'm not saying it's bad or good, but I am going to give some reasons why it may be you need to be very careful about it, is going into business with your technology person. Now, a lot of us who are starting technology companies have a technology background, but what I have mostly seen is really good sales guys and really good leadership type people who then have one of their friends or a person they know who is in technology as a developer. It might be an iOS developer, it may be a web developer, or somebody that can provide the solution that you need for your business idea. And instead of hiring them to do the work, they actually go into business with them as full business partners. I have seen this time and time again being very, very difficult in the long run. So imagine it this way. And I'll bring back the relationship thing. Imagine if you have a friend who's really good at setting up your internet, and every time it breaks, he comes in, he sets up your Wi-Fi, he always fixes your problems. You're like, dude, I cannot get in to this thing. My Wi-Fi is awful right now. I can't figure it out. He comes in and he fixes it. Imagine if you were to take that guy's, instead of just having him help you, you married him, right? Okay, so back to the marrying thing, because business is like marriage. You wouldn't marry your Wi-Fi guy. Because now, instead of just having a guy around when you need the Wi-Fi, now you have him all around all the time, and you have to deal with his 10 hours a day playing World of Warcraft, as well as fixing your Wi-Fi. And he may not be as good at some of the other things that you need. So back into the business world, if you were to go into business with a guy who was really awesome at developing iOS apps, well, what happens when now you're one business partner, you finished your app, but you need to do it in Android, or you need a Ruby developer, or you need your buddy who built the app to now lead a team of people as they create an entire software for you. Now you have somebody that was really good at developing, because developers are awesome. They're amazing people. But he also now needs to be a strategist and a chief technology officer and an equal business partner with you. And what I've seen is this often leads to a lot of frustration. Developers need the cash. They're working with you because they want to see your business come through and they're excited about it. But you know this is a very long-term thing. And for them, they may need cash faster. And for them, they may not be ready to lead a full team. They just wanted to give you their skills, which was in that iOS technology. They wanted to give you their skills then, and then be able to see reap the benefits from that. And that's just not how things work. It's a much longer term. So if you have a friend who's really good at building an app, I honestly would recommend buying him a beer too. And instead of having him build your app, just give you advice. Tell you what to do first, give you some advice on building things out. If you're looking at a team in India or a team onshore, ask what he thinks about it, have him look at the code. Or two, you could hire him, pay him to do the iOS app, pay him to do the Ruby on Rails development, whatever it is that he's good at, pay him to do it. But don't have him be a full business partner. Make sure he stays a friend. Buy him a beer, thank him, and just make sure he stays your friend rather than going into business with him. The fourth and last reason that people go into business, from what I've seen, is a really good salesperson. Now, this may work out great. Salespeople are so critical when it comes to starting a business. However, I do recommend that if you are the first founder, the CEO, you be a good salesperson. That is extremely important, that you have the ability to sell. And one thing that happens is if you're not very good at selling and then you end up finding somebody who is really good at selling, it would be, we're going to go back to the person thing. It would be like if you got this girl that you're dating or this guy that you're dating. I'm not trying to just say that you're all guys out there, but say that you got somebody that you're dating, and every time you go in public with them to a party, they're so hot that you look really good. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to marry them. That just means that they make you look good in public. If they don't have the brains behind it, you're not going to marry them. Also, if they don't have the right direction in life for you, then it's not interesting for you. It's the same thing in business. Before you go and say, oh man, this guy, my friend, he's so good at selling life insurance, so I'm going to have him sell my app that I'm building. That's not a good way to go into business. What I would recommend is meet with those guys, meet with that girl that's really good at sales, and talk to them about your product and give them the tools and understanding they need to understand what you are offering people and what services you offer. And then have them run through a test. Give them commission on anything they do. If they sell something for you, give them 5%. Give them 10%. Give them 20%. You're just starting out. Give them that ability to feel like they're part of it, but don't necessarily go into business with them. A lot of times salespeople, and I've gone into business with salespeople, and that's actually been one of my toughest outcomes, is having a salesperson as a partner, because when I started needing them to manage things and be really managing the accounts, that was very difficult because a lot of salespeople are kind of ADHD and they're all over the place, and they may not understand the long-term ramifications and the long-term strategy that you as the founder have. So as a business partner, they're more out here trying to sell and get excited about things. And when things aren't exciting and they're all about like long-term growth and development, it can be very difficult for them. And so I would recommend, again, buying those guys that are really good salespeople, buying them a beer. You're going to need a really big beer budget, by the way. Buy them a beer and then tell them, yeah, here's my business, here's the strategy, and if you have anybody that you can sell this to, that's awesome, and I will give you a huge percentage of it and lots of fame and glory and happiness, and we'll all be rich together. But don't necessarily give them full partnership rights in your company. So, last words in the end, when you're looking at partnership, remember that it's a lot like marriage. If you like being single, stick to being single as long as possible. If you can get outside investment that's not going to have everyday voting rights on things, awesome. If you can get advice from your friends, if you can find advisors instead of partners who can be on your board, you can just make up a board. They can be on your board. They can give you that hour of advice that you need. They can have that over beer, giving you, I think you should do this and I think you should do that. That kind of advice is very safe. If you can get a developer that's your friend or somebody that you know and hire them rather than give them equity, or ask their opinions on developers that you can use, awesome. And if you can have your friends who are salespeople, instead of being a partner, just doing that as a side job until you really get going, that's awesome as well. And when you do look for a partner, make sure you understand what their real skills are, and if they have real strategy that you need in your business, and if there are things that you cannot do without them being a full voting partner, then those are the reasons that you would start looking at a partner. But until then, be very, very careful who you give equity to, who you give partnership rights to, and I wish you the best of luck, and I hope that you find that awesome, awesome person to share your days with before you go home at night, and thanks for watching.